I am so excited to be having a conversation with Sheri Roberson. And Sheri is the supervisor for the special education department here in the county where I live, in Putnam County, Tennessee. And, you know, it's been such a joy to work with you over the years. And so I'm honored that you're here to have this conversation about how we can have positive IEP meetings, because so often parents come in and they've had to fight for everything that they've needed to get for their child all throughout their life. It feels like, when they go in, they're fighting to get the medical needs that they have, the education needs. And we want to have a conversation about how we can kind of shift that narrative and create a positive experience for families to come in. So Sheri, you worked with my son. You were here when my son was in school. He's been out of school for several years now, but you worked with us, and we're just always such a blessing. But we do realize that a lot of the families who will be watching these videos don't always have a positive experience. And so I'm excited for us to be able to talk about that a little bit today. And so share a little bit about what your role is as a supervisor and some of the things that you're responsible for and what you do.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I have been in this role. This year will be my 14th year.
Wow.
I've been in special education. This will be my 37th year. So I have a love for special education. In my role as the supervisor of special education, I see it as many things. So I am here to support the teachers, ensuring that they have what they need to educate our children. I am here to support the students to ensure that they are getting a high quality education. I am also here to support families to ensure that they are being heard, that they are getting the support that they need as they come into our schools, as they are hearing that their children are being diagnosed with a disability, that they have someone to come to when they are learning about their child's disability and they need support. So I have many facets. I also then have the pleasure of working with the State Department when it comes to funding and all of those things. So there are many roles that you fill as a supervisor, but the number one thing that I do is to ensure that the children in the county where I work receive the education that they deserve.
And you've always done such a wonderful job of that. And your team, you've built, not only is it just you, but it's your whole team that you've built this around. And so when you look at your role and you look at how parents view you and what your role is, what are some of those misconceptions that people, when they look at what you do, what are some of the things that they maybe kind of not get right that maybe would be helpful for parents to understand kind of what your role is?
Many times, they think, oh, she's coming to the meeting to tell me no, or she's coming because there's a problem. They see it as the teacher has called and she's going to tell me I can't have what I want. The supervisor's coming. Even teachers sometimes, oh no, the supervisor's in my room. What have I done wrong? Has a parent called and complained? So many times they see that supervisor as she's here to see if something's not right, not as she's here to support the process and to make sure that, everybody is being heard and that we come to some sort of conclusion or some way to support the child. And I always tell them, if we keep the child at the center of every conversation, that we're always going to come to what's right for the child. I usually will always start with, I am not here on the teacher's side. I'm not here on the parent's side. I am here for the child. And that's the only reason I'm here. And so it's just a matter of many times they see that supervisor as only being there to either enforce something or to tell someone they're not going to get something or to say that somebody's right or wrong. When in many cases it's a miscommunication and neither side is right or wrong. It was just a miscommunication.
And so, problems are going to arise. It's just part of it. And so how do you then build that trust with a parent when there's been an issue, maybe not even within the school system that you're over, but maybe they've had issues with another school system where they're coming from? How do you then work to build that trust? And what would you say to a parent who's watching this to help them know ways that they can help improve that relationship between the school system and the families?
I think many times it starts with just listening. I tell teachers all the time, listen with the intent to hear and not the intent to respond. Because many times if you're just listening, thinking about what you need to say, then you're not really hearing what they're saying. A lot of times when parents come and they're coming to talk to me, it's because they don't feel like they're being heard. When I have parents coming in from out of state and I'm listening to them and I'm listening to the struggles that they've had, what they've had to fight for, many of the things that they've fought for are things that we do on a normal day-to-day basis. It's things that I can't imagine a parent having to fight for. It's they're fighting for speech services. They're fighting, and I'm thinking, well, we do that. That's not something. And then they're shocked that we're saying, well, sure.
Right.
So as a parent coming in, I say, have a conversation. Call the SPED supervisor. Call the teacher at the school. See what they do. And not automatically assume, since you had to fight in your other placement or in your other state, that you're going to have to automatically fight where you're going, because that may not be the case. We work very hard to ensure that students get the services that they need. Are you always going to get everything that you want? No, but are you going to get the majority of the time the services that are appropriate for your child to make progress and meet their needs? I hope that that's what you're going to get. I know that we strive very hard to get that.
Well, and I know, just because I know you mentioned early on, you deal with the state and you deal with all of those things that are involved there. And there are, you have limitations budgeting wise to what you're able to do. And so how do you then work through taking all of the the limitations you have with budget to then try to meet the needs of the parent? I think, the parent comes in and they think, oh, my child's the only one. And we feel that way about our kids. But you have, how many children do you have in the special ed department here?
We have close to 2,200.
And so you're trying to allocate all of those resources. And so how do you explain that to a parent who is feeling like their needs are not being met, what they believe to be right, but then you, as the SPED director, are having to allocate all these funds?
Well, first of all, we don't ever talk budget in an IEP meeting. So we're going to work very hard to get that student what they need. If they truly need a service, we're gonna do what we need to get it. And I am very fortunate that if something is needed, then we find a way to get it. Yes, budget. It's a hard thing. And sometimes we have to make hard choices and take from one area to give to another. And we've had to do that in tight years where I've had to take from another area and give to a student that needs it more. But I'm in a different situation to where I have a very supportive school board, a very supportive director who we find the funds if a child truly needs something. And I know that's not the case everywhere, but there are constraints. And then we also get creative. If there's another way that we can meet that need, then we have a conversation with that parent to say, let us try this.
Yeah.
And if this works and they make progress, fine. If it doesn't, then we'll come back to the table and try something different. And that's another thing about as far as work with us, and let us try some of the things before just shutting the door.
So to the parents who are listening, what would you say is your number one or two important things that they can do to prepare to come, when you're coming into a meeting, when you're having that big IEP meeting and you're getting everything ready to go in, you're going into the meeting, what, from a parent's perspective, would you say, as the supervisor, what would you say to a parent to help them be the best prepared that they could be before they come into that meeting?
I would say have the draft IEP. If you don't have that, well then have your questions. If you have the draft IEP, then you can look at it. You can write questions down, because in the moment when you're trying to digest everything, you're not going to remember everything you wanted to ask.
Right.
If you can have someone come with you to help take notes so that you can look back at them later. I have gone to IEP meetings with parents who were nervous, and I know not every supervisor can do that. And it's not an adversarial thing. It's just a matter of there are a bunch of professionals at the table.
Yeah.
If you feel nervous, then have someone with you for that support that can help you ask the questions. Or if you need to talk to the supervisor beforehand, or I have consulting teachers who are wonderful and help me out, talk to them to kind of wrap your head around what's going on, and just be open-minded and listen to hear different ideas. Be prepared to be an active participant, to ask the questions, to put out. You know your child better than we do. So you know what works, you know things to do to help if they have triggers, if they get upset, what calms them. You're an important part of that meeting. So you need to be able to have the input there at the table just like anybody else.
Well, Sheri, I just am grateful for you and all that you do for the students here, for the families here, because it's not just the students that you help. You're helping the parents as well. And so I'm just so grateful for you and what you do and the way that you love and serve these families so well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.